regulation crowdfunding in my opinion, is that it doesn't really go far enough because it only allows you to raise up to $1 million. I mean,
yes,
you're trying to revitalize a community. I mean, $1 million is, it's like a little shot in the arm, but it doesn't really get the job done in most cases. And so, regulation.
Yeah, the only way that makes sense. The only way that makes sense is if you're doing a Reg CF, for example, up to $1 million, and you're doing that kind of like as a bridge to go more towards the Regulation A+. But even the Regulation A+, when you're talking about some of these developments, some of these funds are staggering as to how much money they're raising. So people are caught in that kind of like a loop there. They're in limbo land. So I believe the 506 probably is the most popular for sure.
Yeah, and plus, obviously Regulation A, like you were talking about, I mean, it you can't just go directly to you can't just put together a PPM and go start raising money. You have to get approval from the SEC. And that usually takes 4 to 6 months because, right now, I mean, the SEC is still kind of the government's in shutdown mode. And so guess what? If you've got a Regulation A in the process, it's in the bottleneck right now. Right now, it's getting
exactly.
They're getting stacked up over there. Whereas under Regulation D, there is no SEC review as long as you put together your PPM. There is no waiting period. There is no, you go right to market. It's your fastest way to get in front of investors. And as far as marketing the offering, your question about that was, obviously a 506B is still your traditional private offering. You have to have a pre-existing relationship with investors to offer under 506B. 506C, on the other hand, in my opinion, it's the real crowdfunding statute because it allows for general solicitation. I mean, now obviously you have to deal with all accredited investors, but most of the time you want to deal with accredited investors anyway. You don't want to be taking money from little old lady, school teacher, retirees.
Right.
You don't. I mean, you'd rather not, right? So you want to be dealing with accredited investors that have can write decent sized checks and that they know what they're doing, right? And and most of them are having capital gains issues anyway because they're getting out of other investments and they're looking for sometimes the capital gains, they have capital gains issues to deal with. So anyway, 506C allows you to you're talking about marketing the offering. I mean, you can certainly advertise a 506C. You can cold call accredited investors. You could email them. You could you could do a webinar. I mean, it really does. As long as everything you say is true. I mean, you definitely can market the offering in any way you could imagine, and so that really takes the shackles off and allows people to really get the word out that they have a opportunity zone fund that's available for investment.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So anyway, we obviously help you draft your PPM, and what we also do is help make sure all of your marketing materials, your website, any sort of webinar, announcements are compatible and compliant with 506C, and that way you don't have to worry about it. We're kind of got your back for you, So
yeah.
Anyway,
well,
I think that's
accredited investors. As you mentioned, accredited investors are obviously the target market for this kind of thing because they really need this kind of incentive. But what about the non-accredited guy, the guy who maybe bought a house 30 years ago and now is looking to retire or whatever? They're not accreditable, but maybe they have $150,000 worth of capital gains on their house. How does that person get involved in that?
Well, yeah. So that's there's quite a number of opportunity zone funds that are we've helped start lately that are available that they're offering under 506B, and so 506B is different because it still allows you to raise unlimited amounts of money, but you can take up to 35 non-accredited investors inside a 506B fund, and so. And also, there's no cap. They can take as many accredited investors as they want, and they could take up to 35 non-accredited. So they do. There are a number of funds that make themselves available to non-accredited investors, and typically that they're they're a little they're not as easy to find. I mean, you can't just because obviously they can't like advertise, but usually you're connected through sometimes those that have a 506B fund, sometimes they'll do just a general webinar about opportunity zones, like say in Puerto Rico or Las Vegas or wherever, and then obviously if they're able to establish a relationship and then because the investor obviously they can certainly invest in the opportunity zone on their own, but certainly a lot of investors would rather go into a fund and have somebody else manage it. Then of course they could certainly talk about their a 506B fund that may be open or available, and so it's sort of it's not a direct approach, but sometimes it's a two-step process in order to get those investors introduced to a 506B fund, But anyway, but yeah, it's certainly done all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and most of these funds that are being started, are they being started by real estate developers themselves, or what's the typical person who's doing this? They're developers, right? Mostly.
Yeah. Well, they're either developers or they may not be developers themselves, but they're a lot of them are entrepreneurs. They see an opportunity, and they may not be contractors and real estate people, but they obviously they hire a realtor, they hire a developing consultant, and they're more entrepreneurs, and they see, well, hey, this would be a great spot to reinvest and rebuild this old hotel that could be revitalized, and if we bought it and redeveloped it, I mean, there's lots of opportunities to do that in lots of areas, and so. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are real estate based, but some of them are not. Some of them are they could be investing in a new business inside an opportunity zone, and so that's the nice thing about it is that the assets that are acquired, they don't necessarily have to be real estate. They could certainly be all be working capital that helps generate jobs in that area, or they just obviously invest in a business, right? So even though a lot of them are real estate based, but they don't necessarily have to be. It could just be a business in that zone,
Right. I just talked about how you have a great video series on your YouTube channel, and the last one you did was really interesting about the activity in the private placement memorandum world. It was very enlightening. It's amazing how much money is being raised really in a short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a great time.
Yep. That sounds great. It sounds great. All right, listen, Darin, before we go, why don't you tell everybody out there what your website is, how to get a hold of you, phone number, email, whatever you want to give out.
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is mangumlaw.net. That's like a man chewing on gum, Mangum and law, all one word, .net is our website. Happy to take a call. I mean, I'm unlike other law firms, I'm always like to be accessible as possible. So I always just give them my cell phone number, and that way, my number is you can call is 801-787-9072, and that number, you can call me or text me, and certainly set up an appointment to talk about whether it's right for you, the fund or not. And so, happy to answer any questions, and or you can shoot me an email at Darin@mangumlaw.net, obviously, anytime. So, be glad to answer any questions anybody might have on your show.
Excellent. That sounds great. And Darin, thanks so much for taking the time out to talk to the audience and be on the show. We really appreciate it, and really appreciate all the insights you brought to us today. Really good stuff.
Yeah. Hey, Ron. Appreciate the opportunity. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, folks, everyone, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast. We're at mappableusa.com. We put you on a map if you have a business out there. If you have a question that you want to ask the show, like we did today with the opportunity zones, there's a slide on the website. You can click on it, and it says ask a question. Put it in there, and we'll get somebody, industry professional like Darin, to answer it for you. And we're looking forward to doing more shows getting the word out there. If you want to be a guest on the show, there's a link there to become a guest as well. So thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great day.